Well, I don't know where I should begin with how I should be starting this video, so bear with me. Right now, this is kind of an introduction to what I've been experiencing over the last few weeks, and I don't really know how I should dive into it, so I'll just waffle a bit, if you don't mind. So, I'll just start with how I'm feeling. I've been stressed, with school and how bowling has been over the last few weeks. I'll start with how we had the Youth World Cup selection, and preparing for a competition usually it should be smooth sailing, I guess, in some aspect of that, and then you should be enjoying the process of getting ready for it, I guess, because like gearing up for a tournament, like it's gonna be fun competing, and it's gonna be fun in that moment. Like you don't always get the chance to compete, so in that sense, I guess it's exciting. But more so for me this time, I felt competing was stressful. To me, competing, I've always regarded competing as a fun thing to do. It's one of the reasons why I continue to bowl and why I'm still in this sport. But like I said, it's one of the rare few times that I felt like I've suffocated from. I'm suffocating. So we just had the Youth World Cup selection concluded the last weekend, and I didn't make the team. So I'm gonna walk you through a little bit of what went in my head, and then what happened on the lanes, and then how that affected my mental health, and then how I'm here today with whatever is going through my mind. So to start, the Youth World Cup selection, it didn't, for me, it didn't go that well. So how the format works is that we get like 12 games of qualifying on a pattern, a single pattern, and then the top if I recall, the top 8 make it to match play, and then it's best of 3, and then like the guy that wins all his matches wins, and he gets to go to the World Cup, the Youth World Cup. So obviously qualifying was a breeze. I made the right choices, I would guess, in those 12 games of qualifying, except on day 2. Like the first 2 games, I started out rough. I bowled a 150 and a 160, and then I managed to fight it out and get some good games in the end. But anyway, so going into match play, my mental state was it was decent. I knew what I needed to do, just make great shots, and then we'll see what happens. But and hats off to my man Peter, he bowled really great. So from the result, he bowled like a 260 the first game, and then a 240, and then I bowled 220, and then just par on the second game. So obviously, being best of 2, I lost to my man Peter, and then he went on to the semis and then the finals. And then my best friend Brian, but he beat Peter, and then he took it home, and then he managed to qualify for the Youth World Cup. Hats off to both of them and the rest of the guys. Crazy weekends. So the past 2 weekends that we've been qualifying for, it's been okay, I guess. Like I said, I knew what I needed to do. It was a urethane shot. I threw the ball pretty well, I would guess, but it just so happens that like the pins didn't fall my way this time. Obviously, there were some things that I shouldn't have overlooked on the second day. That's how I started off so bad, but I think I learned from that, and then I think ultimately I didn't have any regrets in the end, It was just, I bowled to what I thought it was the best that I could. So no regrets this time, but obviously it sucks a little bit not being able to come out on top. But losing is part of the game, and who wants to lose, honestly, right? But it's the lessons that we take out of losing, and how we move forth. So a little bit on my mental health. So I mentioned earlier how going into this selection, my mental health was decent. During the selection, it was decent. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. But before that, it wasn't. So about 3 weeks ago, we were preparing for the selection on the pattern. We were practicing for it. We all obviously knew that it was a urethane shot, and then we were entitled 6 balls, like a normal. Not say normal. I want to say it's trying to simulate what would happen in the Youth World Cup if any one of us were to go. So we're entitled 6 balls and 1 ball swap if we wanted to. So obviously, for me, because it was urethane shot, I had a purple, and then I had a plastic with me, so I had 4 other reactive balls. So for the 4 reactive balls, I felt that I actually decided already on what reactive balls to use, but then the shapes were pretty good, and then but there was still this little bit of me doubting myself of my choices, and I think because of me trying to control something that I can't control, which is me trying to do well for this selection. Basically, the outcome, which is what made me panic about the simplest things, like just choosing the 4 balls, which I already had chosen, but I was doubting myself, and then there was no need to doubt myself. So I guess that kind of impacted my mental health a little bit, because if you don't believe in yourself, why bother choosing the 4 balls, or why bother having the confidence to bowl, so I felt that in that aspect, it wasn't, my mental health wasn't that great. So earlier I mentioned self-doubt, right? So to me, because of the way I kind of grew up in the bowling community, and the way I am now, I guess. I don't know if that's the word I would use, but right now I feel like I have to be this independent person. I feel like I have to do everything on my own. In a sense where I have to be this strong person. I have to rely on myself, for my rely on myself in terms of being this pillar of strength, and um, always being strong, even when times are tough, and my body is breaking down, or my mental health is breaking down. I gotta just be there for myself. I know in a sense that's unhealthy, but given that the environment I'm in, and how my surroundings are, I feel that I just have to be that way, and I just don't think that it applies to me. I feel it applies to all the other bowlers out there. They may not be in the same situation as I am, the same predicament as I am in, but there's always going to be some point in time where you feel like the whole weight of the world is on your shoulders, and then you have to be this strong, perfect person for yourself. And I feel like I've reached a point where, like, I just can't do this anymore. Like, be the strong person for myself. And this is not me trying to be, this is not me trying to whine about, my situation and rant to you guys. But this is me trying to, like, express how I feel, because, as an athlete, it's not always sunshine and rainbows. It's not always me being able to perform every single tournament and me having, like, putting this smile on my face every time. So I guess in this moment, or during this period, like, it just so happens to be one of my darker moments. And the reason why I'm filming this or letting this out to I don't know, the audience, I guess, you guys, is so that to encourage people to be more in touch with their feelings. To those that know me, you guys know that I'm not a guy that would publicly express my emotions. So with this platform, and I feel like, I should be using it to share my thoughts and feelings as an athlete and as part of, a larger field of bowlers, and that's why I feel like I'm making this video, because, as bowling and sports isn't all about sunshine and rainbows, and it's not always that, like, we can manage to perform or keep a smile on our faces every day. So this is just one of the main thoughts and reasons why I decided to come up with this video. Anyways, back onto my own mental health. I feel like, like, in the past few weeks, I've been so hard on myself, because, like, I've been trying to reach this goal that I've set for myself, and I ultimately didn't achieve it. And usually when it comes to me, like, I always set my goals really high, and in order for me to push on and be this strong person, and then, in order for me to do well, they say the sky's the limit. And unfortunately this time I didn't manage to hit my goal. And usually, like I said, I'm really hard on myself, and I beat myself up time after time, like, and reflect, like, on the multitude of reasons why I'm not able to reach this particular goal. And expanding more on that, I feel me beating myself up is similar to other bowlers in the community, or any other athlete in general. Nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants to hit unfulfilled goals. Like, that's just an awful feeling, right? And it gets to a point where it's so unhealthy, because I feel like, let's say we're trying to win a tournament, or place top 3, or get a medal or something, I don't know, whatever it may be. I feel that rewarding yourself with trying to chase that goal, if that goal feels really, really big, I feel it's unhealthy, in a sense where we're rewarding ourselves with instant gratification if we ever hit that goal. It's a feel good sensation once you've hit that goal, and then, like, oh, what's next. And even, let's say we hit those goals, obviously sometimes we've got to sacrifice some things along the way. And for me, most of the times when I hit these goals, it's at the cost of my mental health. And then on the other side of it, like, when let's say I place a podium finish in a tournament or whatsoever, like, I reflect And I think back on the times where, oh, what did I give up to be here? And obviously, after competitions and whatnot, I feel absolutely drained. Like, it's taking up so much mental capacity that, like, I've driven myself to be this perfect version of myself. And I've been trying to market myself for success. And I feel to some extent that that's the reason why I've come so far. But at the same time, I feel, oh, like, at some point, I feel I'm going to burn out. And I feel like I'm at that point already. I don't know if it's the same for other bowlers in the community, whether they think this way or not. Um, but in the general consensus, everybody is gonna, like, use some sort of way to deal with how do you want to approach the goals, and sometimes I can see it on their faces, like the burnout, or they're not driven anymore. And it's probably because of how we strive to be this perfect person. And perfect meaning, like, we've got to keep our game face on. We've got to constantly strive to learn more, constantly strive to better ourselves, better our skill, better our better ourselves physically, and better ourselves in no matter what aspect it may be. And sometimes, like, on the positive side, like, doing all these things is great for your sport and for yourself. But when sometimes, it's too much, then you just hit a ceiling, and then you doubt yourself. And which leads me to my next point, which is self-doubt. So on the topic of self-doubt, I feel like I've done it so many times to a point where I feel like it's eating me inside. And that's why I feel like I've blown my top off the last few weeks. And my friends can tell me that, like, they can see it on my face and everything. But for me, I don't really like to express myself. And that's probably why, like, I struggle with my own mental health, because it's like, I don't express myself. But at the same time, like, in this being this perfect person, you don't want to, show your feelings. You don't want to show your emotions. You don't want to be vulnerable. And in the aspect of being vulnerable, you show this side of yourself that nobody has ever seen before, to your friends, to your peers, to the people around you. And then you think, oh, it's a negative thing. And then, like, people perceive you to be this weak, soft person, but it's actually you just being in touch with your emotions. And I think a lot of people, they struggle to see that, you're in touch of your emotions, with your emotions, rather than you, like, they struggle to see that you're in touch with your emotions, and they instead think that, oh, you're just soft and weak, which I think social media has ruined this, because, like, it's a normal human being, like, it's a normal human feeling to feel, like, negativity once in a while. And the reason why I said that social media has spoiled this is because, like I revert back to my previous point on being perfect and perfection. It spoiled us, like, into thinking, like, these human emotions aren't valid, and that these human emotions should be kept inside of you at all times. Like, it's not something the public should be seeing. It's not something that everyone wants to see, because obviously, negative feelings, negative thoughts, like, they they don't allow us to think positively. But to me, it's at some point in time, like, you're obviously going to face all these thoughts, and the only way you're going to face it is if you like, talk about it to someone, which I don't see a lot of people doing. And all these negative thoughts, if you keep dwelling it and, keeping it inside you, then it's going to eat you up one day. And then, like, which translates to my point of self-doubt. And then let's go back to self-doubt. I digressed there a little bit, but don't mind me. So self-doubt, like, sometimes, you hit a rough patch, and then you're like, oh, when am I ever going to get out of this rough patch? Like, it feels forever, and you don't know when you're going to come out and how you're going to come out of it. And for a fact, I know for a fact that it's hard to come out of that ditch. It's hard to come out of that hole. Because I've been there, and I think I'm in it right now. The reason why I said I've been in that ditch of self-doubt is because at some point in time last year, like, at the start of last year, I felt that, I could never reach this ceiling of potential that people thought I would be. I thought I was washed. I thought that, I was just bowling for no good reason. And, like, it felt like forever. Like, I felt like, like, the days are just passing by. My progress isn't improving. Like, even though I'm learning, even though I'm like gaining in knowledge, trying to learn more, trying to be a better version of myself every day in the bowling center, no matter what, rain or shine. But I just felt I wasn't going anywhere. And then that translated to me asking myself, like, why am I here? Why am I here, like, where I am today? Like, why am I given so many opportunities, but I can't perform? And what are people thinking of me if I can't perform? And, how does this affect my image of people seeing me? So these are just some of the thoughts that ate me up from inside. And then, like, when I was a child, would I use the word child? Okay, when I was a kid, like, at the age of 12, I guess, I was winning quite a fair bit. And then when I moved on to the adult team, and then I got into the bigger leagues, like bowling open tournaments, and then, bowling youth tournaments and stuff like that, I felt like I was nowhere near as good as I thought I was. Like, I thought that I could continue that streak of winning and having that mentality of being good. But I just felt that I couldn't keep that up because in the bigger leagues, you're always fighting to be in this cut, in that cut, and like gaining experience, new knowledge, and just gaining a lot of more experience and knowledge in general. And I felt that even though I was doing that, like, I felt that there's this empty feeling inside me, like, oh, I'm learning so much, the coaches are seeing my progress, but like, I'm like just right there, but I just can't break through that ceiling to get to the next level. And then that's where my self-doubt formed. And then like, it's just me questioning myself on a daily basis, like, oh, like, I think at one point, I should just give up. But I never told myself that, to give up. I was just, I just kept questioning myself day after day. When is this gonna end? And then, I guess, finally, the breakthrough came. Like, I managed to win one tournament, and then, like, it felt like a sigh of relief. Like a sigh of relief, like, after, like, a long period of drought, that I finally managed to win something. But like I said earlier, using winning as a measure of how successful you are at some point when you're trying to get yourself out of this self-doubt ditch, I feel it's not a good measurement of defining yourself. I feel to truly define yourself as an athlete and your character, it shouldn't be from wins, but how you manage yourself and your emotions. Like, all the things I said earlier about, like, winning, like, and all that, I feel it's so true because, Like I feel like even if I won so many tournaments, like it would come at a cost of my mental health, and then I would slip into this like dark place that I feel like I would never get myself out of. And what I'm doing now is trying to get myself out of this dark place, and like me speaking up about this is trying to like get other athletes to be in touch with their feelings, because I don't see a lot of people doing this. Self-doubt, to me, I feel can make or break an athlete's career, just because of how impactful a negative thought can be. Like you can have so many positive thoughts. Like let's say you're motivated, you're able to stay patient, stay calm, and be grateful for all the things that you've learned, all the experiences you've been a part of, and how that translates into you becoming this better person you are today. But as long as one negative thought comes into your mind, I feel that negative thought can just burst this bubble of all your positive thoughts, and then that transforms into self-doubt, and then self-doubt transforms into you losing your confidence, you losing your mental health, and so many other things that I just can't think of right now. And this needs to be more talked about, because like I've seen so many people time and time again, like they're on this run of progression, like maybe they're winning, maybe they're working on some stuff, the game is about to peak, and then one fine day something goes wrong, like they don't win a tournament, like, and they place really really badly, and then like it eats them, like the negativity eats them, because like it's a reflection of your progress. It's so-called a reflection of your progress because obviously that's how you bowled in the competition, and it's a reflection of your actions. And then obviously as athletes, I think everyone's always going to be hard on themselves, because we're all striving to become better people, and better athletes in the sport that we're in. And then it just eats us up, because we want to be better, and then because of this negativity, it destroys our field of vision, not being able to see our progress in the past. It's so easy to be fixated with what's in front of you without actually seeing what you've done or how far you've come, because like, oh, you got so much on your plate at the moment. You got your emotions to handle, you've got your other stresses to think about, your other stresses in life to think about, your the quotas that you have to hit, the tournament goals that you have to hit. I don't know, all these things, and then you forget about all the things you've done prior to you coming to where you are today. And it's because of how fixated we are, and the lack of vision that we have. That's why I feel negativity becomes self-doubt, and then self-doubt kills our game. And I really felt that self-doubt impacted my game so much, because like I was like physically and tactically I was in the right spot and the right track, but like if I didn't break through last year after winning something in like March, it I think I would have spiraled downwards, and then more self-doubt thoughts would have kicked in. So more on these goal settings. I feel with these goal settings, I've been consumed by it. I've been drained. I've been doubting myself more than ever, and deep in this rabbit hole more than ever. So much more that it's affecting my mood. It's affecting how I think. It's affecting my mood in school. The people at school can tell me that like I don't look the same. My teachers tell me that too. I just brush it off aside, because I'm trying to be the strong person, and then a little bit of that emotional side of me gets out, and then suddenly they're like, oh, like, what's wrong? And I'm the type that I don't want to rely on people for things, like things less in like like emotional support, because like it's not really nice of me like pouring myself out to other people. It's not their job and duty to be responsible for my thoughts and feelings, and that's why I don't want to tell people about it. And it's not nice, like talking about yourself a lot to people. That just makes you seem selfish, and without considering the other party's emotions and how their thoughts about what you're saying, how it affects them. So that's why I don't want to. I'm just trying to be this strong, independent person. So then self-doubt just kills my confidence, and then that's where I am now. Like, you can see this look in my face. It's not good. So making this video, I just want to spread the word that your mental health is important. You should be taking care of yourself, and if you ever need to get out of the self-doubt phase, you should try to find gratitude, I guess, in your progress, because sometimes it's so easy to get caught up in all the progress that you're trying to make, and all the goals you set for yourself. So I don't know how I should be continuing with this, but that's just an update on why I think mental health is important. And if I think of anything else, like, I think I'll make this a series, like a mental health check-in, like after every tournament or whatever it may be, just to show you how an athlete walks through their image of themselves and how we see things. I think that's something that not a lot of people do. Actually, I don't think most people do, in fact. So that's just an update. I'll try to keep you guys updated. The next few months are gonna be a busy few months ahead, and let's see if my mental health will hold up.